You only need to know me. I will be the one.
Many of you have been asking a question that the One Piece community has wanted to know since Chapter 100 and the introduction of a consequential character for our Straw Hat protagonist and the story at large. Why the hell hasn't the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon, done anything? And I mean anything. Some are wondering if Luffy's father is a deadbeat, in more ways than one. But I think I have the answer. And strangely enough, it ties into the equally mysterious red-haired Shanks. But first, what is a revolution? A revolution can be defined as the forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. A revolution is a fundamental change in the way a society, government, or organization operates. Revolutions can lead to significant change and progress, but they can also be risky and unpredictable. Throughout history, there have been numerous examples of successful and unsuccessful revolutions across the world. Given their complexity, the outcome of any revolution can be difficult to predict and requires careful planning. Some factors that contribute to the success of a revolution include a clear and widely supported goal, a strong and organized leadership, a favorable political and economic climate, effective communication and propaganda, and the ability to secure resources and support from external sources. On the other hand, revolutions can fail due to various reasons including disorganization, lack of leadership, a divided or uncooperative population, harsh opposition from the ruling regime, and failure to achieve the desired goals. Overall, the leader of any revolution must not only be charismatic, respected, influential, but also wise, experienced, strategic. We are told that Monkey D. Dragon has been pulling the strings behind the scenes for quite some time, actively going up against the world government, thereby earning himself the title as the world's worst criminal. Based on some translations, some people continue to believe Dragon might be revealed to be the world's most wanted or dangerous man. Ivankov tells us about Dragon being the strategic mastermind behind revolutions across or around the world, comparing his presence to the likes of the world's strongest man at the time, Whitebeard. And when Garp introduces Dragon as Luffy's father, Robin confirms Dragon's actions behind the scenes in contribution to these global uprisings. That Dragon deliberately remains a mysterious man such that no one knew anything about his identity until Garp revealed it. The reaction of the Marines and the Strat pirates to Dragon's name being mentioned, that Dragon was an outrageous man, in essence a living legend. This tells us all we need to know about who we are dealing with. Dragon is no pushover despite having personally done so little in the current storyline. And to be fair, I think Oda deliberately had Robin characterize Dragon in chapter 432 as a man that spreads propaganda, someone pulling strings, a mysterious man whose identity was unknown to most. Oda characterized Dragon this way because it parallels the king of the world Imu, a king of the world shrouded in mystery that nobody thought existed, whose government, via Big News Morgans and other sources, regularly pushes propaganda to control the masses, how they think and what they believe, and by doing so what they dream. Dragon and Imu alike, moving chess pieces around, preparing for that final war after the One Piece is found.
One Piece wa jitsuzai suru!
We'll come back to that point, but so far, Dragon's strategies have dealt severe blows to the other side, but nothing crippling yet. In the grand scheme of things, Dragon seems to be the last chess piece Oda has been planning to move. Why do I mention chess? Well, war is often a game of chess, involving intense strategy on either side. Various pieces make their move, but the king, and to some extent the queen, are seen as chess pieces of last resort. The king especially, as the other pieces on the board exist to protect the king. The Holy Knights and the Gorosei that serve under the king of the world, Imu Narona, and the revolutionary army that follows the leadership of their Supreme Commander Monkey D. Dragon. Recently, the Revolutionary Army declared war on the world government, and in doing so, one of their chess pieces, the Chief of Staff of the Revolutionary Army Sabo, attacked the Gorosei and thereafter went directly for the king, for Imu, with a chess move called Rook, or Rook Check. Rook being a chess piece and Rook Check referring to the cornering of the enemy's chess piece, the king piece. A checkmate then, against King Imu. But of course, this checkmate failed. Imu and the Gorosei, Imu and his pieces on the board, had other abilities, strategies, techniques that the Revolutionary Army was not prepared for. And so, just like Imu, Dragon is also a chess piece on the board, not only a supreme commander but a supreme king. It's been too early for him to move. His opponents want to lure him out to defeat him, to remove the king and bring an end to this game once and for all. This game of resistance, this game of rebellion. But if this reminds you of anything, think back to Marineford when Kizaru attacked Whitebeard but Marco the Phoenix intercepted. Marco thereafter telling Kizaru that you can't just go straight for the king. There are other pieces on the board you have to take down first. And to some extent we have seen this right, taking down the weaker pieces at play. Retrieving Kuma from the world government was important, and given how strong of an adversary Kuma is, it's better to have him back on your side. It's also revealed that the Revolutionary Army attacked the food supplies of the Holy Land. Starving your enemies is one tactic of war, siege warfare, and the moves made against the world government around the time of the Reverie seem to have drawn out the Holy Knights. Setting aside the Gorosei, Saturn's presence on Egget Island, in his words, the first time he's been on the surface of the Blue Sea, down from the Red Line, in quite some time. Imu is surrounded by pawns. They need to be knocked down before Dragon makes his move against the crown. You cannot just go straight for the king. And so, it being too early for Dragon to make his move, this has been true for the longest while, but now with the events of Egget Island, and everything else going on in the world, the declaration of war against the world government that has been made, many are questioning if now is the time for Dragon to enter the game, to start personally taking some pieces off the board. Why he has waited so long, what Dragon has been doing all this time. Some people have plans that they will act on in the immediate moment, plans that they came up with on the fly only 5 minutes ago, while others have plans that have been in the works for 20 years, plans they have spent ages, an entire lifetime on, investing every second, every moment, until a certain day comes. Until then, time feels like an eternity, even for us readers. I wanted to make this video just in case the other video on Dragon and Kuma that I made about them coming to Egghead Island doesn't pan out. And you can see that video on the screen. In case Dragon continues to not do anything. But given what I've mentioned so far, it makes sense, right? That a man like Dragon, a man who sacrificed his family, threw away his relationship with his own son, all but abandoned him in the East Blue to create the Revolutionary Army. It makes sense that a man like Dragon would never risk all these years, decades of careful planning to rescue people like Ivankov, Kuma, Sabo. The reason he let them find their own way out of their troubles. And of course, most recently, Jenny in the flashback. Casualties of war, dying for a greater cause. Thank you for your service. I could say more, but I'm sure you've heard it all before. The mission, that is all that matters. I'm positive Dragon would say the same about his own life. Little battles here and there are important, but winning the war matters more. Defeating the world government, defeating the Gorosei and Imu, that is victory. In chapter 440, Dragon even lectures his subordinates about celebrating too early, reminding them that this is a war. The world government has been in power for nearly 800 years, ever since the Void Century. Dragon has had even less time to plan. Imu has immortality, centuries on his side. Dragon has decades. He is nothing more than a mortal man, daring to rebel against the gods, unknowingly going up against a real God, maybe God himself. But the doubting, the mockery. I heard someone say that doubting the main character's father is automatically a losing agenda. I agree. It's been proven in most cases, although I'm sure there are exceptions in manga or other mediums. For Luffy, revolution runs in his blood. So does being strong, especially strong-willed. The ambition of kings, conquerors, which was noticed in him by the Marines and others at Marineford. Some remarking that yes, he truly was Dragon's son. We're going to expand on Joy Boy more, but many compare the return of Joy Boy to the resurrection of Jesus. I've long said on this channel, and in recent chapters from Kuma's memories, as we see the cross in the church with a sun, and circles as planets orbiting around it, reminding us of our solar system. And if it were a cross worshipping the sun god Nika, perhaps a religion that foretells of the return of Jesus or Joy Boy, given the similarities of Christianity. The Son of God, the Sun God. Speaking of which, Jesus had a father named Joseph. Apparently Joseph knew his son Jesus was the Son of God. One night, an angel came to Joseph in a dream and told him that the Virgin Mary's baby shall be named Jesus, and that this baby was the Son of God. This angel told Joseph that Jesus was to be the Savior of the world. And so, what if akin to the voice of all things, an angel visited Dragon one night in a dream and told Dragon that Luffy would one day change this world, and it was his job to prepare for that certain day. No different than Odin telling Wano to prepare as well for Joy Boy's return. No different than Roger hearing the voice of the Sea Kings, that a new king would be born, and this sovereign would surpass even him. This would explain why Dragon has not made a move up till now. So let's close up the video with what I think is really going on. In chapter 433, Sanji mentions the arrival of Garp. Garp's presence in general was like a storm, a reminder of the will of D, how the D will always bring another storm. What a coincidence that Sanji compares Monkey D. Garp to a storm shortly after the reveal of Monkey D. Dragon as not only Luffy's father, but as the leader of the Revolutionary Army. It seems like Dragon is the very storm itself, having powers that allow him to control the wind and weather, and his son might be the hurricane that he brought into this world, his greatest act of resistance against the world government. Luffy causing havoc wherever he goes, but also the eye of a hurricane, as it is called. It is the center of a hurricane where conditions are relatively calm. It's important to note that while the eye of a hurricane may appear to be safe, a safe place, it is actually one of the most dangerous parts of the hurricane due to the intense weather that occurs just beyond its borders, and so the intense weather approaching in the distant future. So in terms of Dragon might be calm now. He might appear to be doing little to nothing, but that's because we are in the eye of the hurricane, the eye of Dragon's storm. Bad weather is around the corner. The forecast is rainfall, lightning, and dark clouds. The chess pieces that I mentioned, Dragon sitting back, waiting to make his official move, just as the King of the World Imu has been sitting back, waiting as well. But recently, we saw Imu in action more than any other point in the story, as the Mother Flame was deployed to destroy a rebellious kingdom, and so a direct response to Dragon, and the rebellions he had started around the world. As King Cobra was killed by Imu, as Imu appears to have also injured Sabo, the Revolutionary Army's second in command, and now Imu going after Princess Vivi. This waiting game and the moving of chess pieces on the board ties into Dragon posing the question about why the world government has only just now deployed that apparent replicated power of an ancient weapon that it seems to have in its possession. Dragon wondering why Imu is only making his move now. I think the answer is simple. Joy Boy has returned. This is the beginning of the end. The last time Joy Boy was around, the world ended and a new world was created from the fire, risen from the ocean and the rubble, along with the sea devil that rose from the water to defeat the sun god. This is my personal made-up story. But think to yourself, has Dragon been shown reacting to Luffy's new wanted poster? The appearance of Gear 5 that is on it? That which shows Joy Boy or the sun god's appearance? What would Dragon's reaction be if he saw it? Could there be a reason Oda has not shown us Dragon's reaction? Or shown us with Dragon looking at this poster? Unlike the other time Dragon caught wind of Luffy's bounty in chapter 440, where Dragon did not recognize his son's face at all. He had forgotten it, and Dragon's immediate reaction then was to get some fresh air, before his face lit up with a smile characteristic of the D, a face with a look of anticipation, that one day they would meet again. No different than the first time Shanks was updated about Luffy's bounty. Shanks also smiling at Luffy's wanted poster, that Luffy had finally come. And of course Shanks, unlike Dragon, has now seen Luffy's most recent wanted poster, the face of Joy Boy. So ask yourself, why is Shanks, after having done nothing at all this time, after having made no major moves to anger the world government, outside of making contact with Whitebeard or ending the Marineford War, which was a chance to end piracy or deal out a significant blow once and for all, but Shanks put a stop to it? Why is Shanks going after the One Piece now? Shanks' declaration coincides with him seeing Luffy's new wanted poster, and so we can assume that the return of Joy Boy is driving Shanks' decision to make this move. It's even more curious when you think about Shanks' inheritance of will being no different than Luffy. Shanks and his captain Goldie Roger. How Roger said he wished he had been born in Joy Boy's era. It seems like Roger had run out of time. As Roger says himself, he was too early. Too early to truly make use of whatever the One Piece is. But with the return of Joy Boy, by way of Monkey D. Luffy, this is once again the era of Joy Boy. Roger might not be around anymore, but Shanks is. Shanks is living in the era of Joy Boy now. The era his Captain Roger wished he had been born into. Now is the time. Whatever the One Piece is, now is the time to find it and change the world, to bring about Roger's dream. And since their dreams seem to be the same, Luffy's dream as well. And going back to the fact that Oda deliberately placed Shanks and Dragon next to one another at the Pirate King's execution, as we know others that were present that day, several of the former warlords of the sea have joined forces to form Cross Guild. It's possible Shanks and Dragon are connected in some way, each of them waiting for the day they meet Luffy again, coincidentally waiting for the day they meet Joy Boy. Shanks is only making his move now that Joy Boy has returned, for the One Piece, the incredible treasure Joy Boy left behind. And Dragon might only make his move after the One Piece is found.
One Piece.
For the final war. What Whitebeard said during Marineford about after someone finding that treasure, how the world will be shaken to its core.
One Piece wa jitsuzai suru!
Further hinting that the man Roger was waiting for was Luffy. And so in a way, the man Roger is waiting for is Joy Boy. Joy Boy whose era he'd wished he'd been born into. The man Roger wished he could meet maybe. And maybe he still will. The parallels of Shanks and Dragon are striking. If Oda planned this from the beginning, he really is a genius. One has to even wonder if they have been secretly working together. Dragon is Luffy's real father, whereas Shanks is Luffy's father figure. Both Shanks and Dragon have a red scar over their left eye. Shanks has 3 red scars over his left eye, and Dragon has 3 red diamonds, or 3 red diamond-shaped symbols over his own left eye. We know Dragon has not been around to raise his son, Luffy, and Shanks might not escape the deadbeat allegations either, given Makino has a child back in Fuchsia Village that we suspect belongs to Shanks. Both Shanks and Dragon have promised in one way or another that the day will come when they meet Luffy again. And both Shanks and Dragon saved Luffy from the Marines. Dragon saving Luffy from Smoker during Logetown, and Shanks indirectly saving Luffy from Akainu and the other Marines during the Marineford War by ending that war and buying time for Luffy to escape. Most important of all, I think, is the following. Both Shanks and Dragon, as I mentioned, were present at the execution of the Pirate King Goldie Roger. Why? We know why Shanks would be there. Roger was his captain. But why was Dragon there? And why would Ichiro Oda, in Chapter 0, position Shanks and Dragon side by side? Well, this might be a clue. I mentioned before that Dragon was actually first introduced in Chapter 1 of One Piece. If we set Chapter 0 aside, Dragon is said to always be facing the east wind when it is blowing, and in Chapter 1, we see the east wind is blowing as Shanks' pirate ship arrives to Fuchsia Village with Luffy and Shanks standing on it. The east wind is mentioned right by Shanks' pirate flag for a reason by the narrator. And we see Luffy standing on the figurehead of Shanks' ship. This figurehead that Luffy is standing on looks like a dragon. So the east wind and a dragon. Monkey D. Dragon was in Chapter 1. In this panel with Shanks and Luffy during their introduction. Only recently did Dragon declare war on the world government during the Reverie, and coincidentally around that same time, Shanks visited the Holy Land of Merijoa to speak to the Gorosei. The revolutionaries and Shanks were in the same place at the same time. The movements of Shanks and Dragon once again intertwining perhaps until the culmination of some momentous occasion. An event. The birth of a new age. A new era that the world government and Imu seem to be afraid of. Chapter 100 speaks of eras and how they change, inherited will, destiny, and dreams. How these will never cease to be so long as people yearn for freedom. Liberation and its warrior being the sun god that people prayed to in the past, and still do to this day. In some parts a legend that stubbornly remains. Chapter 100, the legend begins. This is when we first meet Monkey D. Dragon. Maybe the legend finally comes to an end, when Dragon finally makes his move, signaling the end of the One Piece story, the end of the mystery that is the One Piece treasure. We can tie Dragon to Shanks' desire for the One Piece. We can tie wanting the One Piece into changing the world, and how Whitebeard said the world will change when someone finds it. We can tie Dragon saying the world awaits our answer into what Rayleigh told Nico Robin about learning the true history, and how the Straw Hats will come to their own conclusion when they do. We can tie all of this into Roger's final conversation with Whitebeard, how before he died, Roger offered to tell Whitebeard one of two things, how to get to Laugh Tale, and the meaning of the Will of D. As far as we know, Roger only told Whitebeard what the Will of D is. But Roger's willingness to share information along with the willingness of Rayleigh, his right hand, to do the same, should lead you to wonder if either of them have ever told anyone else about the Will of D, or the location of Laugh Tale, or even what the One Piece really is. Why Dragon was at Roger's execution? Could it be that Roger told Dragon something as well? The Will of D, or the true importance of the One Piece? Why the One Piece is needed for Dragon's dream, to change this world, if that is his dream. Why the One Piece is needed to turn the world upside down. Looking back at Whitebeard's final words, and a proclamation that the One Piece is real, it does seem like Roger told Whitebeard something more that was not disclosed to us. Something other than the middle initial D that Imu Narona alleges those that carry said will, today, have forgotten in terms of its significance. Hollow shells, relics of the past, unworthy of that title, in his view. But Whitebeard appeared to know what that treasure was, and if Dragon also knows, then maybe he also had no interest in finding it, but also believes the day will come when someone does. Just as Roger predicted someone would surpass him, Roger assuming his son Ace would find the One Piece, and so in lies another connection to Dragon, whose son Monkey D. Luffy has inherited Roger's will, and will likely find the One Piece as well. And so what Dragon wants is not the One Piece itself, but the new world that comes after the One Piece is found. This is what Dragon has been waiting for. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at the following address at Vinland Ragnar. My Twitter page is on the screen. Also check out my spoiler channel called Vinland Leaks, where I'll be covering the One Piece spoilers as well as turning your comments into videos. And check out the One Piece news channel, D News, that I'm going to finally get started on shortly, where I'll be covering news in the One Piece community.
One
Again,
Piece.
Links will be in the description box and pinned in the comment section below. As always, there is more to come. Until next time.